the U.S. is one of the few places where ministers are assigned the job of the state. And I would think it would be easier is just to throw that out, I mean, and not have ministers perform civil marriages at all. I mean, is that a possibility?
The people who count votes tell me no. That the majority of Americans want church weddings.
Well, we could have one.
With a center aisle and a place for the train.
And flowers.
And flowers.
And cake.
It's such a great question about civil union, full marriage, if you will, and I would commend Evan Wilson and his work, Freedom to Marry, for these conversations. I think if same-gender loving couples were asked, many would say, I just want a civil union. You know, the legal protections and rights and responsibilities, as Earl said. And then for some couples, the blessing from a faith community and the symbolic importance of marriage. So, you know, we are a peculiar culture in terms of marriage. Because, and I know many couples who are same-gender loving, that a civil union seems like a less than, you know, because we've placed, as a culture collectively, such a high value on marriage, that this is a married couple. So, you know, who knows what the conversation will be 10, 20 years from now, but I think what I think I understand from a lot of same-gender loving couples is that marriage means equality to heterosexual couples. So for me, as an openly gay person, Christian and Presbyterian, and a person committed to separation of church and state, I would love for the line to be clear and different. That this is what marriage means in faith communities, and this is what marriage means in the state. But there are persons that work really hard to confuse those things. But to me, that would be an important conversation. What does marriage mean for religious tradition, and what does marriage mean in terms of the state?
When Tony De La Rosa from New York City Presbytery gets here, presumably tomorrow, ask him, because he worked, was he on the same commission with you?
Yes, he was.
He has a whole lecture about how from Calvin forward these things came together and all that, which I am not even going to attempt because we don't have another hour and I don't know it.
But just to say, though, that there are a number of teaching elders in the Presbyterian Church who have come to the conclusion that if they're not allowed to marry any couple in their church, in their congregation, that they're not going to marry any of them, and that they're not in the business of acting as agents of the state. They will have blessings of marriages that the state has performed, the state has taken responsibility for, and then that's allowed. They can bless a union of anybody, because that's the Presbyterian Church allows that. But they say, if we're going to have equality, and we can't marry anybody, you know, we can't have any of the couples in our congregation come and be married, then equality would mean none of them can come and be married in the church.
I just have to say, we're using this word equality. As someone who's worked in the feminist movement for years, marriage between men and women was the one institution that prevented equality between the sexes. And when we studied the laws in the various states, it was sad in terms of women's place. So, I mean, we should not forget that marriage itself has not been, until maybe recently, an institution that promotes equality between whoever's in there.
Right.
Between couples.
Sure.
I mean, just mostly men in the past, men and women.
Let's mention, just very quickly, because I've got to give these people a chance to sum up. Issues we are not here to talk about include the Defense of Marriage Act of the federal government. I believe Janet is going to put in the Public Policy Advocacy Network a link to a resolution to Congress asking for a Defense of All Families Act that you may want to explore and possibly sign. Another point, Connecticut's top high muck-de-muck court, the reason that Connecticut has same-gender marriage is because our top court decided that separate was never equal. And when we had a civil marriage, a civil union law that was not applicable, if you were a heterosexual couple, you couldn't go under that one. If you were a same-gender couple, you couldn't go under marriage. That was an intolerable inequality. So it's not just the Presbyterian Church that is muddled on this subject.